It is the duty of the free man to resist tyranny at every turn. Every man will either watch his freedom stripped away or take action to protect what he loves. Introducing the A3, the newest revolutionary body armor from Armored Republic. The A3 is the new standard for lightweight multi-hit body armor. A3 plates are incredibly light at 4.6 pounds. The patented design captures fragmentation while remaining multi-hit capable. The A3 will stop up to M80 ball, yet comes in at only 0.7 inches thick. The A3 is the thinnest NIJ.06 compliant or certified composite standalone plate that includes the drop test. The A3 is the first of its kind, patent pending, that combines an alloy strike face with polyethylene backing, revolutionizing body armor technology by providing strength and durability while remaining sleek and maneuverable. The A3 is the new standard in lightweight body armor. The fight against tyranny just got stronger.
This is good. You just need to learn to
I'm just
enjoy
gonna
a
move
game.
on. Hey y'all, welcome to Cross Politic. It is Tuesday evening and Advent the 6th, December 6th, right?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Advent December 6th,
I don't
Tuesday
think it's
evening.
an accident that he started with music. Behold, darkness shall cover the earth.
You know, I'm going to turn your mic up and turn his mic down. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you.
You are over here, huh? I just want better intro music. Pastor Toby Chalk Knox, I'm
How
the Water
dare
Boy.
you
It's good to
talk
be with
about
you.
a handle like that?
We also have Mike Foster and Dale Partridge coming up to talk about Pastor Library Hour.
All right.
Pastor Library Hour. And look at
Is that your drink?
It's,
That's
yeah,
mine.
it's yours. It's yours.
You
No, it's
thief.
totally yours. This is our
mine?
Cross Politic Christmas. I got it downstairs when you're ready. Our
I'm
Cross
ready.
Politic Christmas water bottle. I love these, actually.
I need
Fantastic.
one.
Club members, the next 75 club members, help us finish the year strong. Next 75 club members that sign up for gold or platinum will get one of those sent. It's super quality Kodiak brand. Love it.
Wow.
There you go.
Hey, I would read my ad, but it's not there. Can't see it.
Oh, no.
So, do something sometime for someone.
There we go.
There you
was
go.
Fantastic ad. Join the club. That was probably the ad. Maybe. I don't know.
New St. Andrews College. It's the best.
There we go.
NSA.edu.
There we go. That was the ad. So Senator Tom Cotton, Kroger, and you guys know Kroger and Albertsons?
Yes.
Kroger and Albertsons. Yeah. Kroger was a very prominent store in Texas. I haven't seen one up here in the Northwest.
I first learned about
one?
Kroger when I used to work at a telephone survey company.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Bennett?
CC
was it?
Benefits.
Yes. Not CC Benefits.
No. That was the old thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Bennett Research.
Yes, Bennett Research.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would call people on telephone, and we did a survey for ages for Publix.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Grocery store. We had to read, and I'd never heard of Publix at the time.
Yeah.
But they're down south.
They're Florida.
I eventually found, we went to South Carolina. They got Publix in South Carolina.
Yeah.
And it's like the Lamborghini of grocery stores.
Yeah.
So there's currently Kroger. I'm moving on. Kroger again. The music, and now Toby. I'm
I
moving
just
on.
want to talk about grocery stores. Actually, I'm getting hungry now.
You know, Kroger does not have as good sausage in them as Publix does. They have a
I'm telling you,
of
Publix
sausage.
has got like the best version of everything.
Yes.
Wow.
All right.
It's also more expensive than
Yeah,
everything.
interesting.
You were saying.
Okay, I'm moving on. And Kroger is right in the middle of trying to acquire Albertsons.
Oh, for real?
Yep. So there's real. It's about a $25 billion purchase. Okay.
Yeah.
And the Senate Judiciary Committee, because that you can't do a business deal like that without going before the Senate Judiciary Committee.
That's not true.
Okay. Well,
Really?
apparently. You can't do some sort of acquisition like this, I guess. I don't know. The Senate Judiciary Committee called the Kroger CEO to testify to make sure, it's a safe purchase and a good acquisition and all that stuff.
That's just like what they do every time I'm at the grocery store.
But as you guys
Are you
know,
sure you want to buy this?
Yeah.
This large screen
You called the
television.
Senate Judiciary Committee? What do you think of this half and half I'm about to buy here at Kroger?
Do you have enough money for this? How much debt are you going to go into?
And as you guys know, Kroger's woke.
are they?
All the stores are pretty much woke.
I didn't know that.
Who's no? Well, Senator Tom Cotton is also on the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he wasn't sympathetic.
This situation reminds me a little bit of the situation big tech companies have found themselves in recent years. They've come to Washington because they fear regulation from our Democratic friends or action by the Biden administration, and they expect Republicans, who are traditionally more supportive of free enterprise, to come to their defense. And I've cautioned them for years that if they silence conservatives and center-right voters across the country, if they discriminate against them in their company, they probably shouldn't come and ask Republican senators to carry the water for them whenever our Democratic friends want to regulate them or block their mergers. So I've heard a lot of questioning about that today, and I've read a lot about it in the news. And I'll say this: I'm sorry that's happening to you. Best of luck.
Oh, oh.
So you get kind of the gist of what's going on here.
I kind of get the impression that he's not sorry.
Yeah, he's sorry, not sorry.
Well, and so the Federal Trade Commission has come in and looked at this deal, and they want more information from Kroger because I don't know why, but they do. And so this deal is not able to transfer. So whatever is going on
it
here,
extended to 30 days. They go before the Senate Judiciary Committee here to be interviewed. I mean, it's a crock.
Sorry, wish I could help you. Click.
I think that was bad form, and I like Cotton.
But hang on, there was Disney, big tech. They've been going woke, and they've been suppressing conservatives, and they've been doing everything they can to fight conservatives for a decade, more, And so Senator Tom Cotton's just like, sorry, I'm just not going to stick my neck out for you anymore because you aren't even you're against us. I'm going to help you, and then you're going to turn around and stab me in the back.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I get that, and I still think he's wrong.
What do you think he should have done, Knox?
I think there is nothing wrong with a company acquiring another company without the oversight of the federal government.
Yeah,
that is
100%.
Absolutely
right.
And so if that is your
why is Kroger there in the first place?
They shouldn't be there. And if that's your position, that you believe that businesses should be able to transact without the federal government oversight and to be able to do things unless there's a crime or something involved, and that's your position, what you don't do is make it better for you to invite people over because you kick them in the nuts while they're down.
Mm-hmm. Wait. Explain your analogy.
So,
who got kicked in the nuts where, when,
how?
We were talking about grocery stores a second ago.
But what he did, though, was kick them while they're down. Why wouldn't he create a love for the world that exists with the federal government not having to have oversight? Why wouldn't he say, you know what, I want a world where you, Kroger, can buy Albertson without even having to come and have this conversation with us. But the way that you've been acting has created a world that you're sitting here with people who don't benefit your company, don't love your company, don't love your employees, and making you come before them and say, oh, unless you do things our way, you can't operate in America. I want to damn that to hell. Yeah. And because of that, because of that kind of support for this group, we've tied our hands over the years, but I want a world where you don't have to do that. And so I'm going to support you in this because I don't want that to exist because that's unjust. I hope that you look at this and say, yeah, I love the world that you're talking about, and I want to live in that kind of world.
So
yeah, it ain't going to work.
So you're saying, though, basically that these woke companies want unwoke economics, but you can't be woke one way and not get woke the other way.
Right, right. Exactly.
So we got socialist economics going on here. Yeah. And that was woke 101, and now we're at woke 2.0 or woke 3.0.
Yeah. But I also want to say, if our worldview is better than theirs, then let's show the reality of that worldview. And so when the opportunity comes and arises as Christians, what we want to be able to do and say, you know what? There actually is a way out. There's a world to live in where you don't have to have this type of reality. Right.
It's called freedom.
It's called freedom.
In Jesus.
And I want that for you, but you guys keep operating this other way, and it's only going to be worse for you.
Right.
And so do I stand with you guys to be able to make this transaction? Of course I do, because I'm grateful for the work that you do to our society, right?
I just want to connect the dots a little bit more. Don't miss the fact that socialism is Marxism.
That's right.
It's Marxism light, and that's what critical race theory is, and all the other critical theories are. That's what wokeism is. It's virtue signaling Marxism. But it started with the government picking winners and losers.
Right.
You know, saying, hey, we need to put our finger on the scale because you're making too much money and those people are not making enough money, and they were a minority or they didn't have as much privilege to begin with, and so we're going to play God and try to even everything else out. But that's where that stuff starts economically. With high taxes, redistributing incomes, and then the government's got to get involved in all these transactions because they're playing God.
Well, because they got money at stake too.
Right. We need to be the kind of people that remind folks that God didn't leave us in troubled times. Right. And this situation is a righteous one. There's nothing wrong here.
And when he does, he's still God. He's still sovereign. And sometimes it takes generations to work your way out of a hole.
Yes.
And sometimes God's blessed other people immensely, and he's good and just and right to do either way.
But even in my correction, I want to have, or the truth that I'm proclaiming, I want to have an aroma of forgiveness that is sweet and desirable to the person that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
I want to always make sure that that's there. I don't want to kick them in such a way where like, well, what's the point in that side?
Right. Well, but I mean, he makes a good point. I'm not sorry. You're eating your pudding. You're eating your own pudding that you've been fostering.
But I think Knox isn't disagreeing with that. If my understanding you're right, he's just saying he didn't offer him any gospel.
Right. Of course, you can tell them that they're eating their own pudding.
He gave them just law.
Can I speak on behalf of Knox too? I mean, because that was and I feel like it's 2 against 1 right now.
Hey, look, if you start the show complaining about Handel's Messiah, you ain't gonna get a word in edgewise. All right,
we're gonna be against you, both of you.
Preach, preacher.
All right. Speaking of like woke economics.
Yeah.
Okay. During the pandemic, this is talk about an excuse for woke economics. During the pandemic, the Trump administration put together about $175 billion spending package for hospitals, or funding package, or pandemic relief package.
Wasn't it that first $1 trillion that he was? I wonder if this is in that first.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to keep up with all the
trillions.
Yeah.
All the trillions. I don't know what spending package.
Can't remember which trillions we're talking about.
So Trump's administration put together $175 billion. Trump. And note that Trump's administration spent 90% of it, and Biden got to spend the last 10%.
Of that 170.
Of that 175 billion. And originally, when so the pandemic comes out, and then they have excuse to put all these stimulus packages together, which is what they did. And part of that included that $175 billion business spending package. And the way they initially divvied up the money to the hospitals, because, in a pandemic, when you have more people that come to your hospital, it's a burden on your hospital. You don't make as much money. I don't know how it works. It's still not working out to me. So they need government relief, apparently. I can't.
You mean like
I can't make that calculation work. A pandemic gives you more clients, and you make less money, and you need government help. I don't know how that works.
Fauci math.
In the same way that we all needed money from the government because they told us not to go to work. Anyway.
Well,
but they were working. But they didn't have a shortage of work.
Our buddies at the restaurants weren't working, but the hospitals were working. And so they
needed more masks.
They were turned. Remember, their clients got turned. They stopped.
Breathing machines.
They only had a certain amount of things that they did. They weren't doing everything.
They stopped doing elective surgeries, which was cray. They stopped doing cancer screening treatments, which is crazy.
And people died.
And all in the name of pandemic. But they saved a lot of lives. So what they did was how they allocated the funds initially. And there's actually even this quote. Well, let me explain they allocated the funds by revenue. So by how much revenue a hospital brought in.
Poorest hospitals got the most?
No, revenue. Total revenue.
Oh, the richest hospitals got the most.
Yeah, the hospitals got the most.
Hold on, wait a second. The reason they did this was because they assumed that the people who were getting the most amount of revenue were going to see the most amount of people.
Anybody knows anything about revenue, that's a bad assumption.
I'm not saying.
I understand what you're saying.
I'm saying that there's a way to think that this is absolutely nefarious, and it's not. You got to remember, this is them helping, and the reason that I bring this up is because this is poopy water.
I hate your point.
Helping? Helping.
This is when helping hurts.
Right. Okay. I just want you to finish the sentence.
So the senior advisor to HHS was quoted in this article, and he says about the funding model, the revenue.
Right.
He said, we had to accept very early on that our first foray into distributing funds was going to be imperfect. You have $175 billion, and that's the best equation you can come up with?
Well, and the reason why
that's why they shouldn't be doing this. Well, this is also giving talking points to Democrats, by the way.
So the reason why that he considered it was going to be imperfect is because they had to rush and do something.
Yeah.
And this is, Pastor, we've talked about this so many times.
Never waste a crisis.
Whenever you can't not exercise prudence, you will have failure.
Right.
Unless you have created a muscle reflex for certain things, right, where you've already trained in it and you've thought through it, which is, again, prudence, right? If you can't stop and think about it, everybody's telling you to make a move, you need to reject that from
Pastor Doug Wilson likes to say there's no situation so bad that you can't make it worse.
Poopy water. Hey, I wonder if he knows about the poopy water.
I'm not telling him about it because I'd be afraid he might use it.
One of the things that I was thinking about with this article is the fact that it's no question to me then why the hospitals were not on the side of their employees when it came time to the vaccine. Yeah. If you get all your money from the federal government and they've made you...
They were their biggest customer in the pandemic.
And the federal government has made your company profitable where it was not before, and you've made billions of dollars off of the aid of the government that you do not have to pay back, by the way. then you are going to stand with them when they require vaccinations against the very people who work in your hospital. It's no wonder why they were opposed to all these other things that fighting for freedom. What were some of the things I wrote down here? They were for vaccination. They weren't offering transplants unless you were vaccinated.
Yeah.
Why would they?
They still aren't.
Why would someone who
We got
has
people in our church who can't get transplants.
Why is someone who has a Hippocratic oath willing to bypass their oath and commit to the government and because they've been bought. And so there's no, of course they're going to do this. And so, whoever, if you take the king's coin, you become the king's man. And so this is why I'm hoping and I pray that people who have private practices did not follow any restrictions from the government in any way whatsoever, and they would have been just as profitable. Right? They would have continued to do their elective surgeries. They would continue to help the people they've been helping. They would have helped with COVID, and they would have been successful financially as well. They didn't need the federal government to come in and give them any sort of assistance.
And just two things. One is, Gabe, you pointed out to me earlier that the largest group in Washington D.C. The largest
the largest lobbying industry is healthcare.
It's healthcare.
And they spend I think it's almost I can't
too much.
billions of dollars.
Secondly, back to the point we made before, this is what socialism does. And so it's and there's this, I mean, we are way in.
Yeah, we are.
And this is how you get your healthcare system completely destroyed. The Bible describes bribes as blinding the just. It just blinds you. And that's what I mean. It's a very sophisticated version of bribery. Or maybe not so sophisticated if you actually read the fine print. But that's what you've got going on here is this massive corruption. And this money just blinds people. They're no longer actually helping people, caring for people. Now you're serving the bottom line. You're serving the government. You're not actually serving people.
Pastor Dale Partridge and Pastor Michael Foster are taking back the library with Pastor Story Hour. We'll talk to them next on Cross Politic. Cool, let's bring them.
Home. It's where you build your legacy, where traditions are started, seeds are planted, meals are shared, and stories are told. We are Chris and Natalie Carpenter, owners of Story Real Estate, and our team of top agents helps people find homes in Moscow, Idaho, and around the country.
Have you thought about a move? Contact us to get connected with a top agent who shares your values and puts your family first. Or reach out to us about our Moscow relocation guide.
Wherever you're looking to go, we can help you find home. Call us at Story Real Estate or visit us at storyrealestate.com and start building your legacy.
A little better.
I prefer you don't talk while Handel is doing his thing.
This makes me want to go to libraries and listen. Pastor's read.
He killed your ass. He killed your mic.
Turn my mic back on!
Welcome back to Cross Politic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Our Fight Laugh Feast magazine is a quarterly issue that packs a punch like a 21-year Balvenie no ice. Perhaps you've heard. We don't water down our scotch. Why would we water down our theology? Order a yearly subscription for yourself and then send a couple of yearly subscriptions to your friends who've been drinking lukewarm evangelical Kool-Aid.
And you know you got a lot of friends.
Every quarter we promise quality food for the soul, wine for the heart, and some Red Bull for turning over tables. Our magazine includes cultural commentary, a psalm of the quarter, recipes for feasting, laughter sprinkled throughout the glossy pages, and more. So sign up, get a subscription for yourself and maybe a few friends for Christmas at fightlaughfeast.com.
I think someone should send a subscription to the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Okay.
That's actually
the
a
whole committee.
Hey, all of Congress.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Hey, we're grateful to have with us two of our friends, Pastor Michael Foster of East River Church in Batavia, Ohio, author of It's Good to Be a Man, as well as Pastor Dale Partridge, teaching pastor at Reformation Fellowship in Prescott, Arizona, and the author of Jesus and My Gender. Pastor Michael, Pastor Dale, thanks for joining us on Cross Politic.
Good to be here.
Yeah, excited to be here, man.
I have not heard that track that's from one of Doug's early albums, right?
Yeah, absolutely. He dropped it 1860 something.
Michael and Dale, you guys have been just launched sort of this, I don't know, this grassroots pastor story hour in local public libraries, and where, I mean, why? Where'd this come from, Michael?
Well, as you guys know, there's been a lot of men in lingerie twerking in front of 3 and 4 year olds all across America. Some of them with like horns on their head or something. And it's you know, I don't go looking for that stuff, but these days that stuff finds you on Twitter, on news everywhere. So you hear all these guys talking about these drag queen story hours and raging online about it, but not really doing anything. So you can try to protest it, and I think that's good. But how about you just fill up the vacuum by actually doing our own, utilizing these libraries to read books to kids? You know, Doug says you can't have a culture war without a culture. And what better way to build a culture than teaching kids to love good books about Jesus, books that glorify God. So getting some time in our community to actually affect those around us with truth. And so that was my goal. I didn't want to be passive and just complaining online, though I do think getting the word out and protesting is valuable. But I actually thought, why aren't we just doing our own story hours? I think most of these libraries would be happy to have us step in there. So.
This might be a dumb question, but like, did you have to fill out paperwork to do this? I mean, does the libraries just let you do this kind of thing pretty easily?
In the Claremont County library system, you have a little form you fill out. So I filled out that form and just asked a couple of questions. And it was super easy. It took me a couple minutes. I walked a couple blocks from my office in downtown Batavia, went over to the library, filled it out, came back a few days later, did the story hour. It was a piece of cake.
Okay, Dale, you did this down in Arizona where you're at, and how did it go? And what was the maybe the same thing? You know, was it difficult to get signed up? And then what was the response?
Yeah, you know, when Mike tweeted this out, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, I saw his tweet. I feel like in the first 5 minutes, and I wrote under it. I said, "I'm on it." And I texted him after that. I said, "Do we really need to do this? This is a thing." And I think that day I went and I texted Mike and said, "Hey, I scheduled the story hour." And we went there. I had a conversation with the librarian. She was a little bit shocked at first, was concerned about calling it Bible story hour or pastor story hour or using the words kids. And so she had a little bit of a conversation back with me about that. And I said, no, I think we should call it Bible story hour for kids. And then we ended up with pastor story hour. But so there was a little bit of resistance, a little bit of shock. I think Mike said it in a couple interviews that the library is kind of a sad place. At least it was in the locations that we went to. It was resigned to kind of, there was, homeless outside and kind of the less fortunate of the communities were there. And the question I think that we both needed to ask was, why are drag queens and the lost more interested in influencing children in their community than pastors are? And I think that's the profound question that we had to confront ourselves with and go, what is this fascination with these individuals with influencing children? And why are pastors and churches not interested in doing the same? Obviously for good and not for evil. And so I think the bigger, goal and objective is the encouragement to other pastors to do the same, which we've already seen. I've had several pastors already send me screenshots of they booked their story hour. And we had the gentleman that wrote the Daily Wire piece for us sent us a text message a couple days ago with a screenshot of another pastor that's booked a story hour. So there's a little bit of a movement, which I think was the goal, and praise God as a result.
Go ahead.
Mike. Why? I guess it's somewhat Pastor Partridge answered some of this, but is it the libraries because it's low-hanging fruit and their kids there? But I would have never thought the battleground for this next generation is going to be in libraries.
Yeah, I think it is really that simple. It's low-hanging fruit. It's government backed, so they have leverage there to kind of force their way in and shame these people into silence. So I think it was an easy way for them to get in. And look, we all know that sexual predators go where there's ease of access to children.
That's good.
And that's exactly what's going on there. And and they did it. I mean, I don't know how many of these have happened. You kind of wonder that, really, like how many of these actually happen. But
I mean, I'm thinking like hundreds, possibly in the high hundreds.
Yeah,
Drag Queen Story Hour.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I appreciated about this when I heard about it, Michael and Dale, and I saw you guys go do it. For one, like you didn't create a website, you didn't create anything, you didn't create like a infrastructure or whatever. You just went and did it. And and how easy is it for the church actually to go out in the community and start serving, and not need even the elders' permission to do everything. Not needing. I need a website to facilitate my ministry to the library hour kind of thing. And so I really like the fact that you guys just went out and did this and were able to. I mean, apparently it's just a very easy process to go. So as you guys have seen this take off, or other pastors do this to other libraries, did kids from the outside your families and community and church, did they show up to this?
Yeah, for me, we had maybe 15 to 20 kids. It was the first one we're going to do. We're going to do another one next month. And we had some families that we didn't know. There wasn't, they put there's a bulletin board of the library. And we have to remember, we're all dads, right? So we know, what do our wives do with the kids sometimes during the week? They go to the library and they go get books. And, since, the Barnes and Noble and Borders is dead, they go to the library and spend some time there. And there is a bulletin board. And I think that there's low-hanging fruit in the communities that we live in. There's Facebook groups for moms. They're looking for things to do with their children. Yeah. And if the only options are listening to a drag queen, a lost person without, the truth and wisdom of the word is going to go, okay, I think everybody else is doing this. Let's go do this. And so again, I think we just need to create worthy and biblical alternatives to the world's offerings, and I think we're going to be shocked that people actually show up.
Pastor Foster, what kind of books are you guys reading? You talked a little bit about
that too. Like, what would you actually read?
Yeah,
I read Mere Mortals. Read a chapter of that.
No Mere Mortals. Good.
No Mere Mortals.
You know what? You all right?
Classic. That's a
It's
classic.
good to be a man.
It was The Knight and the Dragon by James Shrimpton, who I was privileged to read his draft. It's kind of a rhyming poem-like story that uses the metaphor of a knight and a dragon to tell the story of Jesus, to tell the story of the gospel. Yeah. So I had that on hand, and he got it published by Crossway. His first child and children's book was pretty impressive. Read it. The kids liked it. Kids like people slaying dragons and all that.
Right.
And so that's where I started with. I think there's a ton of great kids books. R.C. Sproul's have some out there, and there's some good options through Canon Press, obviously. But you get started. I think it was interesting. I got there, and I didn't know what I was doing. I've never done a story hour before. Like, I've been reading to my kids. I got 7 kids. I've told goodnight to the moon 10,000 times,
Yeah.
But so then I get in and we read to the kids, and it's like over in like 20 minutes. I'm like, well, the Bible story, 20 minutes, not an hour. Sorry. but I thought, as I was there, after I kind of reflected on it, it was a little more effort. We could have given away really nice bookmarks, had Q&A, build around it, make it more interesting. And the kids, I did my pathetic job, right? I barely had a voice at it. I'm struggling with my voice right now. And then afterwards, the kids said, you feel like an idiot so often when you do things as a pastor. You're out in front of people talking, and then you go behind the stage and say, well, someone just kill me, right? And so then I'm out there doing this, and there's little kids, and little kids are brutal, right? They're just the meanest things ever. And the little kid said, hey, when's the next one?
Yeah.
And I just think, why are we doing this? Are we doing this because drag queens? Or are we doing this because we want to capture the heart of our children in our community, right?
Right.
And children want fathers.
Right.
They want men they can look up to. And think if you hear your kids talking about this guy reading stories to you, and it's got your imagination going, as a father, you're like, no one's going to steal the heart of my kids. I'm going to read them stories too. I mean, like the upside of this is so high. And it just shows that simple acts done with faithfulness to glorify God, God uses it. And I think that one thing I've tried to emphasize as people reached out to me is how little I knew what I was doing. And I just gave it a whirl and I tried to be faithful. And the kids like it. And they're just hungry. They're hungry. And
so that was,
we did.
Yeah, Mike, that was exactly the same, beautiful point you made there, because that was exactly the same thing. We already had the moms also asking, hey, when's the next one? Because they're looking for resources. And again, husbands are at work and, pastors have a little bit more freedom during the week. And so it was a great opportunity to have a masculine male figure in the life of children who might not have that. And I think you're right on the alternative books to read. There are so many good books out there that need to be read to kids. And there is a war in books. And I want to talk about this for a second, because I don't know if you've realized, but there is, when Jack became Jackie and, all the thousands of kids books that are out there with some sort of sexual perversion or distortion that is being infiltrated, obviously in Disney, obviously in almost every, kids digital network, there is some sort of undertones of sexual perversion. And so that was one of the big things why I actually wrote that book, Jesus and My Gender, which is my first kids book. And that was the book that I read at the Bible Story Hour, which is, I have a copy right here, but it's a kids book called Jesus and My Gender. But the idea is affirming kids in biblical gender, because I even wrote in the introduction of this book, I can't believe I have to write this book. I mean, this is, every other previous generation would think that this book is absurd, but it's actually the place that we're at. Yeah. We need to be providing biblical alternatives to children to affirm them in who they are and who God made them to be, giving them a vision for what it means to be a boy and what it means to be a girl, and that you will get married one day and it's a good thing, and you're going to have children, you're going to have a family, you're going to lead them toward God. And that is a huge opportunity for us as pastors and as men, if we can get children in the room by God's grace with their parents to teach them in these basic truths.
You're not wrong that there's a war in children's literature, and I can actually speak to this. I mean, it's broadly true, but my wife was actually an elementary education major at the University of Idaho in 2001, so a little over 20 years ago. Took a children's lit course. And they went through a few different authors. One of them is actually a really well-known one. Tommy DePaula has done a number of really beautiful books, done a number of Bible stories. And then at the end, they do 5 or 6, a bunch of books by him. At the end, the last one they did by him was a book called Oliver Button is a Sissy. Wow. And it's about a little boy who wants to be a ballet, a ballerina, and is plot
twist.
It's this boy who's wants to be effeminate, wants to be a girl, and at the time they weren't doing the tranny stuff 20 years ago, but it was just about a boy who wants to act like a girl and affirming that. And it turns out at the end they say Tommy DePaula apparently was a homosexual. And the last assignment that my wife was given was, how would you use this book in your classroom? And my wife's answer and what she wrote on her paper was, I wouldn't use it. And, her teacher said, but what if your, elementary student is struggling with their sexuality? And my wife said, why would I be talking to my elementary student about struggling with their sexuality? But that's 20 years ago. And that's how we got here.
Wow.
And that's why she left the elementary ed program too.
One thought on this topic that I think is super important to remember is that conservatives are always trying to win hearts through stats. So you hear this in abortion, right? Well, they'll say, what percentage of people that have abortions actually were conceived in rape or whatever, right?
Right. Yeah.
But the liberals would always say, look, here's little Susan. Little Susan had a medical procedure and now she's able to become a doctor and she's serving the poor in Africa, right? So they know a story captures, right? And if you look right now, Disney Plus is losing billions of dollars because of their woke, go broke. And then you have something that's a little more traditional, just a little more traditional, like the new Top Gun movie, and it does really well. And it's because these non-Christians only have ugly stories to tell unless they borrow from the truth.
Right. Yep.
Drag queens are repulsive. It's men in lingerie twerking in front of kids with little horns. It's repulsive. The true story is attractive by nature. They may not submit themselves to Christ, but we have the best story and the best stories, and yet we're not out there in the creator realm. Well, maybe you're not a writer, but can you read a book?
Right.
Read a book to kids, your own kids. I'll tell you right now, to anyone listening to this, here's one challenge I have for you before you start your Bible story hour. Start it tonight with your own children.
Come on now.
Read kids, read to your own children in your home. You want them to know your stories. And we are losing our children to the kind of meta narratives of anime and the meta narratives of YouTube streamers. This is a place where I think we should realize how powerful stories and creativity is in shaping the future generations. And this is a very easy way to get in there. Start in the home, and then go fill out a piece of paper at your local library and talk a little bit.
That's good.
Dale, you got last word.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about design and art and beauty. I think there's something that's been going on for a long time where Christians are just committed to creating corny garbage.
Yeah.
And we need to end that. And that was one element of having more books to read and having more shows to show our children that are, positive, good narratives that have virtuous Christian principles. And so I just want to encourage people out there, if you're a creator, if you're a maker, the liberals for some reason have the most beautiful stuff in the world. And it should not be that way. The Christians need to be the ones that are producing beautiful books with great stories and beautiful shows and engaging narratives and films and content. So just want to encourage the guys out there, the girls out there that are makers, make things and make them well to the glory of God.
Amen.
Man, fantastic,
I'm
fellows.
excited about
Thank you.
that.
Good work.
Appreciate you guys and appreciate what you're doing. Great opportunity you guys have marked out here. That's awesome. Appreciate you. If you're single, get married. If you're married, have you some kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
I'm gonna start reading some stories to the kids
Easily.
right after you baptize them.
Putting off writing that proposal again? Yeah, we've been there. Proposal writing can be tough. It takes work, and if you're not careful, you can set up your company for failure. Well, that's where we come in. Smart Pricing Table is an innovative application that focuses on, the pricing table. Instead of a static document and constant back and forth, our platform creates interactive proposals that empower your prospects. Not sure if something is needed? Make it optional. Have complicated services that vary? Let your customer do the work with line item upsells. Have reoccurring services? Easy peasy. With Smart Pricing Table, you can create attractive proposals quickly. And our system is built for reuse, so you can get out of that hamster wheel. Give your customers choice and close deals quickly with Smart Pricing Table.
Mom always told me to be a good boy, but the world said I could be anything I wanted to be, which is great, because I want to be a problem. No, I won't dive into sex, drugs, or gender confusion. To the world, that would make me a good little boy. I will learn formal logic and adhere firmly to the concept of objective truth. I will commit myself absolutely to the authority of the Word of God and make friends with Augustine, Luther, Calvin, Chesterton, Lewis, and the U.S. Constitution. I hope to grow up and love only one woman, a woman at least as clear-thinking and rebellious in this world as I will be, who knows where true beauty lies and who will never let me stop striving to be the biggest problem I can be. I will give my life for hers and aim to have a family large enough to require specialty automobiles. We will worship in a church unashamed of the gospel and live in a community of families doing the same. I will work myself to the bone, providing for my family, and I will make sure my kids all fall in love with Narnia and Middle-earth, that they will all know how to think, that evolution will make them giggle, and rainbows will make them think of Noah and his archaearchy. Like I said, I will be a problem, immune to all that is hip and trendy and now, singing songs that are centuries old, savoring good wine and great whiskey, dancing and laughing and feasting while the enemies of God scowl and glower in shelter in place. Hey little boy, the world says, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a metastasizing cancer of conservative Christian culture, devouring Marx's impotent progressive dream and building a resurrected Western world. I want to be a stomper of stupid sandcastles, an exposer of poisonous lies. I want my life to be a monument to the triune creator God who made us all. The kind of monument you and yours will never be able to tear down. Oh, and a fireman. Thanks for asking. New St. Andrews College. Liberal arts for outlaws.